possibilities of transforming the economic landscape of Delta State came to the fore at the Maiden Delta Economic Summit Group discourse in Lagos, focusing on the theme Bridging the Investment Gap in Delta State. The chairman of the DESG, Mr. Gamaliel Eshe Onosode, spoke on the essence of the group and why it was formed.
The young professional generation of Deltans, especially in Lagos, we had been meeting informally, discussing our state and the state of Delta. We felt that for the potentials that lie there, there's not much over the years that we can be proud of. And so we felt that it is not something that we should keep depending on government to fix. We felt that many of us professionals are taking big ticket transactions to other places, and we cannot do the same thing for our state, mainly because the structures that are presently in Delta are insufficient, in fact, in most cases non-existent. We are thinking of a way to formalize a structure that can make it easy to start to bridge all these gaps that make investment unattractive in Delta. And we felt partnering with the government without being dependent on government will be the way to go.
Delivering the keynote address of the Executive Governor of Delta State, Senator Dr. Ifeanyi Okowa, the Commissioner for Economic Planning, Honorable Dr. Kingsley Emu, asserted the government's focus and strategies for pushing and driving economic growth in Delta State.
Since inception 25 years ago, Delta remains a unique state of economic, political, and cultural significance. And our people are naturally go-getters, as evidenced in the number of Deltans who are pioneers, industry leaders, or pivotal role players in the various sectors of the economy, be it in banking, oil and gas, media, ICT, sports, and entertainment. Indeed, Delta State is blessed with natural, mineral, and human resources. Our vision as an administration is to harness and develop these potentials for rapid infrastructural development, inclusive economic growth, and an enduring legacy of wealth and prosperity.
Dr. Chris Ogbeche, chairman of Diamond Bank, giving the panel session opening remarks, charged the DESG to set up an economic data center.
Please set up an economic data center to collect information about performance of the different sectors, how well we are doing, where the opportunities are, and the kind of investors you should be going for. And secondly, please undertake research on the competitiveness of Delta State and update that from time to time, because that's one way we can attract foreign investors.
Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, essay to the Vice President on Trade and Investment, and Leila Ndaye, Director Policy, U.S. Chamber of Commerce, assured Delta State government and the organizers of support from this establishment.
We need an attractive, enabling environment, a business climate, and we only share one business climate. So it's not one for private sector and one for the federal government or the state government or public sector. So we all are stakeholders in making sure that our environment is attractive to domestic and foreign investment.
We will assist you to diversify your economy beyond oil, and most importantly, we will work with you to remove constraints to trade and investment and to create opportunities for your constituents to prosper.
Mr. Austin Avuru, CEO Seplat and one of the panelists, harped on the need for governance in Delta State to drive the economy.
Let us start redefining governance. First of all, we need to recreate governance in Delta State. We need to move from governments that are in a hurry to show proof why they should win the next election. By all means, do a few things that you can point at so that the next election you know what to show off. We should move from there to governments that have enough high sense of responsibility to create an environment that you might start seeing the effects in the next 10 years, even when they're left office.
Mr. Chukwuka Monye, the Director General of the DESG, gave his takeaways from the event.
One of the key takeaways is the fact that people are passionate about the state. People are interested in the state. And where you have passion, where you have interest, and people are positive, open-minded, I think there's a lot that can happen.
Panelists and leaders of thought speak further on the economic summit and prospects of growing the Delta economy.
My take on the summit, I think it's about time something like this happened. It's very helpful to governance. I think governance is about prudent spending, it's about probity, it's about accountability. And events like this bring the governance to the fore, align the public sector with the private sector, let them understand what we want to do and how we think growth can be driven. So in a very general sense, I think they're very good and they're very welcome.
I believe this summit is a very good start. Why? Like I was saying there, a lot of Deltans are not engaging in their states. And there are many of them that are successful. The community issues very often can be sorted out with the indigenes that are even involved there. And lots of indigenes that are, again, in what I call Lagos diaspora, etc. So it's bringing the Deltans to relate with the government and the community to develop. So if this summit group can make sure that that partnership takes place, you will see a lot of changes.
So I think it's a good idea to have set up the Economic Summit Group. This is the first time. It's a private sector driven thing. And as a realization that government cannot do everything. If we really want to have meaningful growth in Delta State, it has to be private sector driven growth. And such a summit, private sector can then bridge that gap. I wouldn't say call it a bridge, but act as a bridge between the private sector and government. Be able for government to understand the thinking of private sector, but even private sector to understand the way government operates, and being able to apply pressure for government policies that could create enabling environment.
If we took the rubber value chain and just said we will process rubber, we will grow more rubber, and no raw rubber will be exported from Delta, we'll create industrial clusters just processing and developing products based on the rubber value chain. So the way the Malaysians have done with palm oil, Delta will be one of the richest economies in Nigeria from just rubber, from the employment that is going to be created by the rubber value chain and all of that. If you take even the hydrocarbons value chain, yes, oil is a finite resource. But if we just said anybody who wants to build a refinery in Delta, these are the incentives, the oil is everywhere, come and locate. Everybody who wants to do petrochemicals, anybody who wants to, just take the oil and gas or hydrocarbons or fossil fuels value chain and created incentives, created an enabling environment. We won't be talking what we're talking in Delta today.
What we're saying is there must be local participation in every sector. And you need to move away from the reliance in the oil and gas sector. If we do that, the people in that region will have a sense of belonging, one, in the oil and gas sector. And then if you're not interested in the oil and gas sector, you have other things to do that engages you. And when you are engaged, then there's less, you're less prone to security issues. And I think the development of the state, the development of the region cannot be borne alone by the government of the day, whether it's federal or state. You're never going to have enough money. You need to have private sector participation. And for you to do that, the people need to be gainfully employed and be doing something to contribute to their own quota. In this instance, I'm sorry to say, in that region, in the Niger Delta region, we don't have enough of that private participation.
We fully support this private sector initiative, and we believe that if we work together as a partner with the Delta Economic Summit Group, also with the government of the Delta State, that we will bridge together certain gaps and also be able to address certain challenges such as as you may know, the question of power, the question of security, the question of diversifying the economy, and also making sure that all the trade and investment constraints are being removed for the state to attract more foreign direct investment. And this is what we bring as an added value, because the U.S. Chamber of Commerce represents more than 3 million businesses, and we are the largest federation of enterprises in the world. With our know-how, our proactive approach, and our commitment, we think that we can accomplish a lot with the Delta state, and also together we'll ensure that the Delta state brings back regain its economic strength in order to be a success story for Nigeria and for ECOWAS, the ECOWAS region.
The Delta Economic Summit Group is a welcome development, but the task ahead is a pragmatic public-private sector partnership that will position Delta State as a strategic economic hub.